Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So we're going to give an update on some of the news stuff and, understand that the news is not as much fun as Rama and Sita playing with their toys.
Yes, Rama and Sita they know how to live.
They do, through the eyes of a child or through the eyes of a puppy.
Yes.
It's a wonderful thing to be enjoying your life. It really is. Please do subscribe to both channels. Don't count on any notifications. We have everybody saying, we haven't gotten notifications in forever. But still, to keep the numbers up and hopefully be somewhere able to be found in the algorithms, check in, because we put up videos every day on EEARTS and most days on Evolutionary. So we see a protest here in Austria against the Great Reset. Yeah, it's going mainstream. I think it is going mainstream. Now, I know it's different in different places, and you might be working in a place where everybody is just a sleepwalking zombie, part of the apocalypse, or maybe, hey, some of the guys that you hang with and work with, maybe they understand the bigger picture.
It can be very, very frustrating, but I was encouraged to see this and kind of see the exchange and people having that understanding, in large groups too.
This is happening more and more often. There was basically a poster kind of like that, but it was a wanted poster I saw maybe 2-3 months ago. And it was somebody had plastered them all over telephone poles in a city and saying wanted. Klaus Schwab and Co. Wanted, the WEF, the Great Reset is not going to happen. But recognize a lot of things are well underway as far as their plans to amp up the misery index.
Yes, and we got to be ready for that. And that's what we talk about a lot on this channel is what do we do? How do we get ready? Well, we'll tell you.
I do the food shopping. And when I came out today, I just was telling Cindy, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. There's stuff on the shelves. I don't really see shortages. Actually, the shortages, at least where I'm shopping today, this was as stocked as I could remember, yet the prices are just out and out ridiculous.
They are. It's the prices. That's what they're doing. There's shortages. Well, so are people's pocketbooks. They're pretty short now, too.
And it seems way more than this to me. And by the way, food prices up 15.6% under Biden. There's certain items. There's certain items that, one item I remember, it was $4.59. Now there's $7.98. It was $7.98 for a 2-pound bag of apples, organic apples. And, it varies depending on what you're looking at, but the increases are just amazingly atrocious. Amazingly atrocious. So, yeah, since 46 took office, food prices up 15.6%. We have mortgage rates hitting 6.92%, the highest in 20 years. There is more inventory out there, as you know. There's been a lack of inventory in most areas of the country for a long time. It's all changing. And boy, would we love to have a bigger piece of property to grow on. And even if it was, something just to grow on. And, again, my common sense says wait 3 to 6 months.
Yes.
Keep watching. If you're able to pick up something when the crash hits, you could probably get something at a fraction of the cost. What you're going to find, I think, is a lot of people that have been sitting on properties, the crash is going to make people liquidate. And when you have a choice between having an investment property or, keeping the heat on, and of course, when people have investment properties, typically they're fairly well off. But as we're going to see, this is starting to hit pretty much everybody to some degree.
It is, and people are really feeling it along with other things that are going on. people are noticing, like when they go to the store, they are realizing there's a lot less people there.
The average rate on the 30-year fixed loan increased to 6.92% as of Thursday, according to Freddie Mac's weekly survey. We got in at, I think, 3.5. And again, our mortgage is like 1/6 the average mortgage. Again, we don't want to be in the system. Yet, my thinking was, when I'm going to pay for an RV spot, if I want full utilities and hookup, I'm paying $300 to $400 a month typically. Now, if you go to Florida, you might pay $500 to $800 for that in some areas, and the same thing would go with other areas like California and some of those. So right there, when I looked at, well, for what I'm going to spend for an RV hookup, I could actually get a house, a piece of property. It was like a no-brainer. Yet our goal is to have no debt and to just worry about the taxes. And that is the ultimate goal, because we want to just get outside of the system as much as possible. So instead of, we're not looking to expand into a huge ranch or anything. We just want to be able to, expand into more fruit trees, more fruit bushes, a bigger plot to grow food on. And, it'll manifest in some way, shape, or form when the time is ready. As we shared with you guys on this tiny little, less than a quarter acre, we planted, 35 or 43 fruit bushes and trees. I forget, something like that. A lot. And it's all, doing pretty good for the most part. One peach tree's not too happy. One peach tree's really happy. We might have to relocate that one peach tree that's not too happy for whatever reason. But overall, all the grapes are doing good. The blackberries are incredible. They're going to be all over the place in no time. We have to kind of keep them fenced in. Blueberries, doing good. We have fig trees. We have one fig tree that's way bigger than the others. And then we got pear and we got apple trees. There's nectarine as well. There's strawberries. I mean, there's all these basic stuff growing. And we have Satsuma oranges. We have lemons. We have kumquats. And there's more that I forget. And we're also growing indoors as well on the porch. Because, again, not only the food costs, but I don't trust any of the food out there.
No, and it's just getting worse, too. I mean, the more you read, the scarier it gets to get anything at the store.
Absolutely. So when it comes to, planting a tomato plant and maybe hopefully getting, 6 tomatoes off it, maybe a dozen, maybe 2 dozen. It's worth the time and the energy as opposed to, buying the organic tomatoes themselves. And we also know that there's this strange stuff that they were talking about putting in salads, and then they're talking about giving it to cows and giving it to other farm animals, which is going to mean it's going to end up making its way into your cheese, into your milk, into your half and half, into pretty much everything. So this is what, we have gotten from our guides, is you want to be as self-sufficient as possible for more than one reason. Cost, absolutely, but also, having a little bit more grasp on, what's inside of the food you're eating.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Core U.S. inflation rises to a 40-year high, securing big Fed hike, and that's been going up. Again, it was just a year ago, the mortgage rates were, almost cut in half. This is definitely a recipe for disaster that we see playing out in front of us, and yet it's not unexpected for anybody that has heard of the plans of the Great Reset.
Right.
Shelter, food, medical indexes are some of the highest, and that the basics, as we're going to look at. Let me just jump. I think it's right here. Rent inflation seems crazy. So, you're not going to own anything. We've heard that phrase, right? So you're not going to own your house. So that means you're going to be renting it in some way, shape, or form, renting, leasing. And here we see, the market's through the roof. Through the roof. Housing, shelter, rent. That index rose 6.6% over last year, accounting for 40% of the total increase in all items, less food and energy. And so, as it's talking about, the time to panic was a year ago. We're well past the time to panic. Look at the chart. Look at the chart. And of course, with everything that's going on, all the inflation that we've had, it's caused a glut in certain things. Things that are not basics, there's starting to be a real glut and a buildup. And some people will point that out, that it's biblical. It's biblical. Again, a day's wage for like one little bite of bread, right? But then all the luxuries are going to be relatively cheap because hardly anybody's going to be able to think about luxuries. I mean, when you see that curve, that's not a curve. I mean, that's Everest.
That's pretty sharp.
And it boggles the mind. I keep thinking back 2 years past, and you could see here the median rent, looking back at 2019, where it was a little bit over $1,600 a month, and then you're peaking at like $2,200 a month for rent. Again, rent. It's not, it's just giving you a roof over your head. It's not an investment. It's not going to pay dividends. But again, they want you to rent your underwear. They want you to rent everything. Why own anything? Just lease it. Just rent it.
And then they get on there and they make their own arguments for people. So they hand you the selling points. And do you see how they give us every single thought that comes out of our minds? We need to take our minds back.
What they want is basically this elite ruling class, the WEF and all the rest of the few out there, to be slumlords for the entire globe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have no problem with it either.
Absolutely. So, again, this is just part of it. Horrible, brutal, a disaster for Democrats. Shocked Wall Street reacts to today's CPI nuclear bomb. And so, this consumer price index is not something the left would want. As we know, they've been releasing, from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. It's twofold. Part of it is this Trojan horse that's going on, and part of it is to keep the gas prices, and the oil prices lower until after the election. It's more like, again, what's it going to look like after the election? And after the election, it's going to be heading into the heart of winter. It's going to be tough. I mean, they're talking about whole cities and towns that are going to be going cold.
And they are so cruel. They'll do it too.
Blackrock assets plunge amid global stock and bond turmoil. Blackrock, the world's largest investment manager, reported assets under management plunged 16% year on year to $7.96 trillion. That's still a lot of assets. Mm-hmm. Just about $8 trillion. So, that's, I'm not going to cry over Blackrock. None of us should. And the thing that is heartening is when we see people taken to the streets and chanting about the WEF and no great reset, many people are also recognizing BlackRock and Vanguard and recognizing the bigger picture here about how things are really being controlled and manipulated. So their net income dropped 17% to a trifle $1.5 billion in their third quarter. Yeah, again, they're not starving by any means. And again, also the reset and the resetting of everything, if it does happen the way they want it to happen, it again gives ultimate control to these powers that be. So it's wonderful to see people speaking up against this. So production slows despite biggest crude build in 19 months for WTI. There's a war underway on many different levels. The biggest war really is the war against humanity, because again, it's the average people that suffer. The people that just simply go paycheck to paycheck, and that's the way I grew up. My parents were like that all the time. Yet we always had food on the table because they had their priorities straight. But still, it was a paycheck to paycheck world. And that is the case for at least half of the world right now. Well, more really. When we talk about half of the world, I should probably rephrase it into the Western nations, because if you go to many nations in, say, Africa or in other places that we would call third world, there's still families making an average of about $2. It's just a travesty that you have so many people hoarding so much. And yet, when we look at everything with this energy crisis, and again, people will probably lose their lives this year because they won't be able to afford to heat their houses. And it's all doesn't have to be. It does not have to be, and people are waking up to that fact. So the January 6th committee votes to subpoena number 45. And again, that just means they're going to call him up to the court and, put him up there and question him. It's all part of the process of breaking down the U.S. It's already broke down into more than two camps. There's two big camps. And then there's those that understand the whole thing is just a contrived fiasco. Two sides of the same coin. Of course, one side might be, steering the car quicker off the cliff than the other in many ways. But we knew that we do know there's complicity, because again, 9/11 and Homeland Security, the Patriot Act, that all came in under the rights administration, as the Bushes were Republicans, at least in name. Neocons, we understand how that is. But it's all, again, still this left-right paradigm that keeps us all occupied pointing fingers at each other, and meanwhile, the great theft is still totally underway. It's like we're staring and yelling at each other, meanwhile, the house is being emptied by the real thieves.
Mm-hmm. And, not that this is anything that's any good. It's really quite horrible. But once you are able to detach enough that you can stand back and see this for what it is, see it as the circus that it is, it really does. It kind of gives a sense of release to the soul, because now you're really truly watching a play.
So if you've wondered, how could we ever have a civil war again or a new revolution in this country, you're seeing how they are manipulating it into coming to pass. Supreme Court on Thursday denied a request by former President you-know-who to vacate a lower appeals court ruling in a case related to the FBI raid and seizure of documents from his Florida residence. It asked Supreme Court to allow so-called special master to review more than 100 classified documents that were found by FBI agents at his home, among the more than 11,000 government records seized at his Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach. The request came after the 11th Circuit of Appeals barred that watchdog, who was appointed by a federal judge, from examining the classified documents. The appeals court said the subset of records could only be reviewed by the Department of Justice, which is conducting a criminal investigation of 45. It is a tangled mess that we see. Pumpkins hiding a stash of meth-filled what? Yes, kid you not. Seized at Texas border. Well, that doesn't really look like a pumpkin. That's more like what's that? It's not an acorn squash. That's a butternut squash, I think. It looks like a butternut squash. Maybe it's a pumpkin that wasn't ripe. Anyway, look at it. It shouldn't have that in there. And, the disintegration of society well, the drugs are accelerating that. And it's not just meth, though meth is all over the place, unfortunately. And we do have one of our family members that comments all the time who is somebody that's overcome it.
Yes.
And we congratulate her. And we thank her for being part of the family. We can overcome these things. And there are natural things that you can utilize to overcome these things. And, of course, support. Having family support is a wonderful thing to have. Of course, sometimes it's the chaos in a family that could drive somebody to looking for alternatives to facing reality and everything that we are hit with on a daily basis.
That's right. We have to find these staple things that bring us to a place of peace, and that's where the meditation and mantras come in. They really, really do help.
Yes, absolutely. And I lean on them tremendously as, like yesterday I had 3 different sessions where I went through mantras and meditation. Normally at least 2 or 3 for me. And again, that's all part of the rooting and grounding that I think we need to do, especially in these times on a regular basis. And it could be that you just sit there and you talk to God, or you talk to, Mother Earth, or you talk to your guardian angels, or whatever feels comfortable to you. But sometimes we just need to talk and to get it out. And it's wonderful if you do have ears that will listen to you, family and friends. But if you don't, hey, there still are beings on the other side that do listen to us.
We got to process somehow.
New York City homeless shelter population hits all-time high amid the cascading migrant crisis. Yes, a lot of them are actually migrants. And then you're going to add to it the wave of people that, again, are going to be facing homelessness because of, lack of economic opportunity and the inflating prices with the rents and everything. It's just this way too perfect storm that we are seeing. So here you see the UN General Assembly adopted a resolution that condemns Russia's illegal so-called referendums in regions within Ukraine's internationally recognized borders and demands it reverses its annexation declaration. There was 143 in favor, 5 against, and 35 abstentions. So you can see the 5 that were against were Belarus, North Korea, the Russian Federation, Syria, and there's one missing in there, isn't there? Where am I missing? Oh, Nicaragua. It's in Central America, and there's Russian troops there as we speak. So interesting to keep track of that. Meanwhile, North Korea files another ballistic missile into the sea. Sounds like a big waste of money, doesn't it? And sends warplanes near to the border with South Korea as Kim Jong-un responds to provocative action from Seoul after its military scrambled fighter jets. So this is, again, another one of those tension points. So many different places. And Ukraine gets highly anticipated arms from Germany. Kiev has received the Iris-T air defense system even before Berlin's own military has it. And, there was somebody, there was an Alexa video where somebody asked Alexa a question. When does World War III start, Alexa? And they said it was 2023. Was it December or November 2023? Yeah, it was something like November 23rd, 2023, when Russia attacks Germany, is what Alexa said. Now, I don't know if that was real or not. It sounded like Alexa's usual voice, but who knows if somebody could program that.
Right, exactly.
Because we tried it, and it didn't. It said, you cannot predict a world war.
Right.
So, and there you go. There you go. Meanwhile, the wreckage, Ukrainian MiG-29, interesting. The MiG cost about $10 million. This kamikaze drone scored the first hit in air-to-air combat history of a plane, and that drone cost about $10,000. So that's a big differential, 10,000 to 10 million. So $10,000 spent took down $10 million. It's a different war. And that's the one thing that Cindy has seen, is that there's going to be a lot of weaponry used that we wouldn't even recognize, and just a loss of words for.
Right. Well, there is that quatrain with Nostradamus talking about, the gods having a great war and in the sky, and we're not going to be able to really recognize what's going on. At least we will not have been told about it.
Absolutely. Zelensky says Ukraine needs $38 billion to cover their budget deficit next year, $17 billion to rebuild critical infrastructure, $2 billion to rebuild our electric energy infrastructure, and we need not less than $5 billion for gas and coal purchases, and throw in another $1 billion for fast food.
Oh boy.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? It's just a way to suck you dry, and that's what this war is. It's a way to suck everybody dry.
But, they have to. They want the control.
Well, they want the reset, and it's another way to drive us towards that collapse of everything so that they could bring in their new, shiny, great reset. U.S. sees China as the only other nation capable of reshaping global order, and basically that China would be the only real competition out there. So again, it's saying that Russia's not on an even par, or any other country out there. It's all about China. And it's fascinating, too. We were talking about that that person named Gates that worked for the Rockefeller Foundation, and how they had ties to China way back in World War I. Oh, things run deep. And now we just buried this video by bringing that part up.
Yeah, we did.
We did. AI's going to say, bleep, bleep, bleep. Uh-oh. Remove from algorithms. That was a no-no.
Yep. Big no.
Big no-no. China set up a secret police station in Australia whose officers allegedly hunt down dissidents and persuade them to return home. We talked about it. It's not just China. It's Canada. It's the United States. There's Chinese police stations in the United States. Can't you see what's going on? It's not about hunting down their dissidents. It's about getting ready to take over. And you see, he's like, no, you I got my mask on. Yeah, you can't see me. I'm not really here. Remember that show where the guy would make himself invisible, or think he made himself invisible by like waving his hands in front of his face and then clicking his fingers? Who can get the name of that show? It was in the 80s, I think, for those of you that are like me, old.
Very nice.
Absolutely. So Chinese police operation in Sydney was established by the Communist Party's Department of Public Security in 2018. This has been underway for a long time. They're getting ready. Just hand the reins. The Chinese way that we see, the CCP way, is going to be the way of everybody, if they have their way. After the Great Collapse and the Great Reset, that's what we can all look forward to, unless we wake up the world.
They're all passing all of these laws, creating all of these illusions just so that they can get things in place. AOC
she was giving it.
Congresswoman, none of this matters unless there's a nuclear war, which you voted to send arms and weapons to Ukraine. Tulsi Gabbard, she's left the Democratic Party because they're running for us, okay? You originally voted, you ran as an outsider, yet you've been voting to start this war in Ukraine. You're voting to start a thermonuclear war with Russia and China. Why are you playing with the lives of American citizens? You're playing with our lives.
There will be no neighbors if there's a nuclear bomb. You voted to mobilize and send money to Ukrainian Nazis. You're a coward. You're a progressive socialist. Where are you against the war mobilization? He's telling the right truth. You have done nothing. Tulsi Gabbard has shown guts where you've shown cowardice. I believed in you, and you became the very thing you sought to fight against. That's what you've become. You are the establishment, and you are the reason why everybody will end up in a nuclear war unless you choose to stand up right now and denounce the Democratic Party. Will you do that?
Whoa. You know, it's the great unveiling, guys. It's the great unveiling, but beware that there's always another curtain behind another curtain behind another curtain.
Always.
AOC, what's her net worth? It's higher than you think. 31-year-old, self-proclaimed Democratic Socialist, former bartender, 14th congressional district. Well, they say basically that 1.5 million is where her trajectory is, as long as things don't change. But we had just talked about how number 46 and his number 22, since they took over, their net income has gone up, their net worth, 10 times, tenfold, that quick. Politics is big money. The average member of Congress has a median net worth of about $500,000. Congress members are roughly 5 times wealthier than the median net worth of an American household of $97,300, according to the Federal Reserve. So again, she's going to be 32, and when you look at the income and the potential, obviously, I mean, she's on the fast path to being very, very wealthy. But of course, you know, there might not be a Democratic Party in the near future. There might not be a Republican Party. There might not be a United States in not too many years.
Well, then, you know, they're going to be having people beg for something to come in and take control. Just give us something. Give us any kind of government.
Absolutely. But, you know, the money, the increase, according to public records, she had $15,000 in savings in 2018. And, you know, her paycheck is $174,000 a year. That's what members of Congress get. And yet there's always other perks that they don't talk so much about. So this was basically somebody that was walking the streets of D.C. at 2 a.m., and I could not find any other verification of this or this spoken of anywhere. But you could hear blasts going on. I'll give you guys the links. And you could actually see that these blasts, he says it was the FBI building coming off the roof. Now, we don't know what this really is. And I don't know. Who knows? You know, one person said, well, you think it was the AC unit on the fritz? In reality, it sounded a lot more really like military weaponry.
Yeah, it sounded pretty bad.
But we'll have the links for you guys to check it out for yourself. PayPal is supposedly offering users $15 to not close their accounts. Ooh, things got real bad real quick for PayPal. This is what we really, really need to see against the whole system. When people abstain from the system in one way, shape, or form, the only thing that they seem to understand is the financial aspects.
Right, you know, and just see the power that we can behold if we just use it.
Cancer owie could be ready in months. What do you mean? Yeah. Drug giant Merck teams with Moderna to develop a shot for melanoma that uses patients' own tumors. Oh, that gave me the creeps. It really gave me the creeps. Took me right over here to I Am Legend with Will Smith. You guys remember that movie? Ooh, yeah. They find a cure for cancer. It's wonderful, yeah. Well, give it a certain amount of time, and there's nobody left in the world but zombies and Will Smith.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, that was definitely creepy. So after that, it's nothing like the country life, as we see some of the girls hanging out and just enjoying the swing there.
I mean, look at the contentment on those faces. That's just pure bliss.
absolutely beautiful. And how about this? When you see something you don't know what it is, instead of smooshing it, proceed cautiously. When your curiosity gets the better of you, still be respectful. Don't just reach out to try to squish something. This is perhaps how we should approach our science.
Indeed.
Well, thank you guys again for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. We couldn't do it without you. As always, stay prepared out there. Much love. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.